All right, so what we're going to do is create a knowledge network, and even you couldn't just pass me that huge sheet of paper, could you? We're going to, I mean, this is going to kind of be difficult. We're going to have to perhaps divide this paper in half. But essentially what I want you to do is to, we're going to create a series of ellipses, nodes, on this sheet of paper. And we're going to do about 20 nodes. We're just going to space them out around the paper. Okay? Yeah? Oh, wow. A Technicolor galaxy of... So very, very easy. You could do this with any sheet of scrap paper. We're just using big paper here to make it a bit easier for you. So you're just going to draw a series of ellipses. Don't give up the day job, I think. Right, that kind of thing, right? And then we're going to connect them with some lines, like that. Drawing first to last, just like we did with the list, which began, contrary to my slide, aeroplane, pumpkin, go on. Yeah, and? Harmonium, yeah. Jelly, yeah.
Forest.
Yeah. You poor brainwashed fools. Isn't that sad? Okay, but I would like you to do this yourselves, using the books. I say it, just because of the space we've got on the table, it might be easier if we cut it in half. And just do these ellipses, and then go to the books and find a fact, something which you've got to learn, you need to learn, and write it in one of the ellipses, okay? And then go through the text and find another fact which is related to the first fact, not necessarily in the next one in the next sentence, it might be, and go through the network like this, okay? So that's all you've got to do. It's very, very easy and simple. I mean, mechanically it'll be difficult simply because of the amount of space we've got.
When you say related?
Yeah. Well, which in your mind feels in some way associated with it. So, I mean, it would be your view of the material. I can't lay it down. There's not a cookbook way of doing it, but I say, well, this fact seems to be related to this fact. I mean, a lot of it is just verbiage. Just wind swept Sussex down. I mean, we don't know that. So it's just really finding Norman archers versus English infantry, that kind of thing. So these are kind of key facts you need.
Include all these as well. But
why don't you get an overview first of all, and then come down and focus on smaller details, possibly?
Yeah,
that's fine. Yeah.
I was going to divide each part.
If it makes sense to you, it doesn't have to make sense to somebody else. Learning is a very personal thing.
I thought the point was that somebody can pick it up.
No. This is entirely for you. This is a very private thing. Your knowledge network is a very private thing. It's just entirely how your mind likes to put things together, chunk things together.
It's too much, isn't there?
Well, then you must focus down. You must concentrate on only a very little bit. And the body is a map of, an anatomy book is a map of how the body goes together. So that's all you're doing. So you don't really look at anything very special. You're learning, for example, the Hogarth Road. If you turn right on Hogarth Road, you're going to New Church Road. If you go a few yards up New Church Road, the second turning on the right is going to be Coleman Avenue.
So how do you write those in the individual bits then?
Well, just write them in the individual bits.
Right.
And bear in mind, by creating the knowledge network, you're actually learning already. Because you're studying the text intensely, you're writing it down. Remember I said the muscle memory? You're seeing it, what it looks like written down. And hopefully you'll start to develop some imagery, because I think this will be very useful to you. And you've got an idea of how many different points there are. Right, so let's move on from that, if we can. It's just to give you an example. So now you've created a knowledge wheel, and I've given you some... I've given you a handout. So you write a brief description of the key facts. Enclose each fact in a circle, or in fact in an ellipse to be precise, and then you select somewhere on your chart. It doesn't have to be the first ellipse you drew. Anywhere you want to make a start, somewhere which seems logical to you. Okay, and then you find a second circle and you join the two with line. Now I've asked you to join the lines straight down here because we're going to make life a lot easier. With a bit of practice, you can actually zigzag the lines. You can create kind of a mind map in a sense, or a fact map. But the essential thing is that you've joined the final node, in the sense, not since it's a circle, there is no final or start, but they're all now, you've now got a circle, you've got a network. And that's very important, because when you've got a network, you can start anywhere in the network and go in either direction. Okay? So if we just think about the network we collected on the Mind movie, on the that wretched list, which you'll all be sick and tired of, aeroplane, pumpkin, kitten, harmonium, jelly, dunce's cap, that kind of thing. You could start anywhere there. You could start off, let's say, bread, and you could decide to work. You could work backwards, or you could work forward. You go bread and stone and cream and ship and snowmen and televisions and televisions, oak trees, catapults. So that's a network. Anywhere you start. And the great thing when you're trying to remember something, when you've got a network, if you can just remember one small thing, the rest will come, the rest will follow. Any of you, I know you are, Daisy, but anybody else like to be doing an exam? You are, Yvonne, yeah, right. And I know you are, Terry, as well. Okay. It's just, when you do that, when you get a question, if you just draw out what we call an ideograph, if you just get a sheet of scrap paper and write down anything you can think of to relate to the question, anything, it doesn't matter, and then say, okay, well, now what does that remind me of? And that'll give a fact, and you put down the next fact. And then when you've got a page full of facts, if you draw circles around them and then say, well, where would I start off? Because that will help you actually structure your essay. It'll give you a logical structure. And there's actually a very useful little, I shouldn't say this because I used to examine, but if you were to then cross out your ideograph very firmly, okay, bonk, bonk, so everybody knows it's rough workings, and hand it in with the rest of the papers, if that's permissible, and it often is, you will not lose any marks if you've made a mistake in your ideograph. They won't deduct any marks because they can see it's rough working. But if you've got some good point in your ideograph, which you admitted for some reason to put in your article, they will give you credit on it. Because contrary to belief, examiners are very keen to give students the best possible mark, and they will, if it's a 1 point between at university a 2-1 and a 2-2, they will look for every conceivable reason to give you that additional mark. They really will, and so give them all the help you can. Okay, now in order to remember this, there are two ways of doing it. We'll start with a very simple way. You start anywhere you like in your network, okay? And you cover up the nodes in front and round. So then you can decide, well, I'm going to go down the network. So you look at that internet access. And then you think, what does that remind me of? What idea was linked to that idea of internet access? And you just think about it in a kind of casual way, and if you come up with something, if you fine. And if you don't come up with anything, you just look at it. You think varieties of software. Yeah? And then, well, what does that link to? So you go around the network like that. And the first time round, you may only get 2 hits out of 20. It doesn't matter. Do it again, repeat it, go in a different direction. And then you're linking all the information together. Okay? Now, there's a very subtle thing you can do, which that's kind of okay. It's perfectly okay. Just cover them up and then try and guess. But I can show you how to make a teaching machine or a learning machine. I'm going to show you how to make a learning machine, a very powerful learning machine. It may not have a microchip inside, but it's nonetheless going to be as powerfully useful to you as a computer. All you've got to do is to take this sheet of card like this and fold it in half. And then you're going to cut an ellipse. Cut half an ellipse like this so that when you open the card up, you'll actually have a full ellipse. So that's produced that. Now what we're going to do is to cut what is called a leads to guide. And this will enable you to line up the oval you make by using that as a template with the next oval. So here we're going to cut a little leads to guide, and this is simply done like this. You make one horizontal cut, then a vertical cut, just a little, like a little keyhole. And that, you see, has produced a little leads to guide. So we're going to use that to create the ellipse, and we're going to use that to create the line which links it to the next ellipse. And now we're going to cut what is called the hints window. This enables us to use what is called anticipation learning. So we just cut one horizontal and one vertical, small vertical cut. And there we have, voila, the learning machine. And what you need to do now is just fold it up like a flap. And essentially that's all it is. So we're going to use a large sheet of paper. We're going to draw ellipses using this as our template and using this to space the ellipses one above the other, so that when we have reading a fact here in the first ellipse, we can see where the next ellipse is, and we try and take a guess at what we think is in there. If we haven't got what's in there, we lift the flap, the hints window, and we'll just see a few lines of what we've written below it, and that should be enough in most cases, and certainly after the second time you've gone around the network, to tell you what's in the second ellipse. So you then slide it down using the leads to guide to direct you to the next ellipse, and check that what you thought was there was correct, and then make a guess at the third one and check by lifting the hints window. So it's a very simple, very quick device, but you find it will actually improve your ability to remember large bodies of facts very quickly and easily, and to recall them very, very accurately. And once you've been around the network 2 or 3 times, all those facts will be locked together, firmly locked together, which means because it's a network, you can start anywhere in the network and you can move backwards or forwards with equal ease. And so when you've got to remember a fact, the other facts will all come clustering around it. It's a very, very powerful way indeed of learning any new information. And I'm sure you can see how you use this. You now, the next time you drew your sheet out with your ellipses, you'd simply use this window as a template for your ellipses. And then you'd use the leads to guide to give you your straight line down. And then what you would do, you'd move it down and you draw your next ellipse. And the trick would be, and we'll practice this in a second, to get your second ellipse. So when you lift the hints window, you can see 1 or 2 of the words written in the next ellipse. Just like that. And then you use it in exactly the same way as I talked to you earlier, which we'll practice with. You look at what's in that. Let's say we're going to start here. We're going to start here. We look in the window, we see what's there, and we see the leads to guide, this little piece of... so we know where the next ellipse is. We can line that with the next ellipse, and we think, now, what was next in the next ellipse? Okay, ilium, ischium, pubis. Okay. He looks at me in stupefied amazement. Yes, I know the feeling. And then you say, well, I can't remember. What came after the ilium? So you lift up. I hope there'd be more than just one word in there. It could be. Yeah. So you lift up and you can't remember, and you see, oh, that's a hint. That will give you a hint. So that's called anticipating learning. And you're priming your brain. And you just see one word or... I mean, you don't just have to use words. You can use acronyms. You can use acrostics. You can use little drawings if you want to. It doesn't matter what. If you're very visually minded, maybe you'd like to make little drawings, little sketches of what you want to do. Maybe for learning all your streets, you could just draw little pictures and see them in that particular way. So here we go. Here's some cardboard. Just practice making a... This is a very, very good way of... I think you'll probably be able to cut it in half. Here you are. One pre-made for you. And there's a pair of scissors. Oh, you've got... Yeah, you can have mine. You can have mine. No, you can have mine. Here you are. Hang on. I signed it. Worth a fortune in 10 years' time. No, put it on eBay. Sorry. Okay, Yvonne. Have you got some scissors? Good. Everybody got scissors and stuff? You can use any colour you like. That's it. Here's another bit of cardboard. Yes, we've got plenty of paper. You don't cut the top, otherwise... There you are, that's it. And then just... No, along and then up. Yeah, it's got to fold. The top bit is going to be the hinge.
Oh, right. Okay. So
yes. Now, sorry. Take a finger off. Comme ça.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, you've got your hints window. So that's a cool little bit of kit. Yeah, flow charts. Interestingly, the guy who developed it's not developed by me. It's developed by a guy called Gordon Pask, and he is a computer programmer. Well, he's a computer specialist and also a psychologist. I feel like one of these people, you know, who cuts up a newspaper and produces a row of racehorses or something. What I should do, what I would advise, is to reduce them to index cards. First of all, 3x5 index cards. Really makes you force yourself to look exactly at the facts. And then you can construct a knowledge network without actually, you just put the cards down in a row, in a circle, yeah? And then you can look at them, and what you can do, another way of doing exactly the same thing as we were doing today, rather than drawing things out, is you've got all your cards, all your index cards with your key facts on them, turn them all over except for one, and read that fact, and say, what does that link to? And then check it by turning over the next card, and then what does that lead to? And then check it by turning over the next card. And go round the network like that, and then start and go around the other way round. Because, you know, that's the way you're connecting items of information together. But I think when you revise, guys, and this is not really, I'm sorry everybody else, but don't try and study with 20 or 30 books on your desk, on your table. And if preferable, if you can, if you don't have to study in the library, don't. It's just too depressing. You look at the sum total of human knowledge, at least what exists at the University of Brighton, and you think there's no way I'm going to, you know, go up and do something, live on an island, eat fungi or something like that. But so just focus, restricting information down and down and down, filtering it down again. Exactly like homeopathy, where you dilute and dilute and dilute. Okay, so now you've got these cards with stuff on them, and you learn that, and that's your framework. And it will nudge other thoughts, and it's training your brain to think in a particular way. I'm really so delighted to see you all here, because it's really nice to meet people who are keen on learning things, because, you know, I think it's very important for the health of your brain, for the health of your futures, really, to keep your mind fresh and strong and active. So do you all follow the basic idea of this learning machine and the anticipation window? You find you can learn almost any subject. There are certain things you can't learn with this. I wouldn't try and learn a language. I wouldn't try and learn mathematics by it. But I think with imagination, you can probably learn 90% of the stuff you'll ever have to learn in life. And the rest of the stuff, there will be other techniques you could use. If worse comes to worse, just brute force. Just brute rote learning, but minimize that as much as you possibly can. As I said, you never try and learn anything you don't understand. If you don't understand something, try and break that problem down. This is what you do in computing. You break down a problem. It's called progressive fragmentation. You look at the problem, say, I don't understand the problem. How many parts can I break that problem down to? And then how many parts can I break those parts down to? And you finally will come to a part where you actually understand. And then your understanding will work your way back up this fragmentation system. But I know lots and lots of people who try and learn things. They have no idea what any of it means, and their brain won't allow them to do that because it makes no sense to the brain. And do use vivid imagery as much as you possibly can, and when you get all your learning styles, try and work according to the way your brain works best. Well, thank you very much indeed. I think you've been fantastic and very, very helpful to me, and I hope I've been helpful to you, and I hope you have enormous success, Daisy, with your driving test, and Terry with your exams in physiology.
Anatomy.
Yeah. Body movement.
Neuroscience.
Yeah.
Psychology.
It's a hard life. Thank you for watching my series of lectures on mastering your memory. I hope you found them interesting and useful. If you would like to retain copies of these lectures on 2 DVDs, they can be obtained at a special price for all YouTube viewers of just £2.50, including postage to any UK address. In the first of a series of interviews with well-known therapists, I will be introducing you to Lou Leibniz, who is a trauma specialist, and she will be talking about the nature of traumas, how they arise, and how she helps treat them using a unique technique which focuses on the way people move their eyes.